with our live call on the web and on Sirius XM. A two-time Le Mans winner ready to set sail here at Road America, all part of the Pirelli World Challenge Grand Prix of Road America at the Kohler Grand Prix at America's National Park of Speed. It is going to be a spectacular race. It has to be if it's going to match the day. If you tuned in yesterday and joined us, it was stunning. Better today in terms of the weather that we're having, and we are anticipating an absolutely superb race. Those of you that could join us throughout the year, you know that we are building our CBS Sports Network show. Yesterday's show, we tilted it a little bit more toward the GTS coverage because that cut was going to be used for that show. Today we'll be focusing a bit more on GT. We had great racing in GTS. We know there were things we didn't see in GT. We're excited about that, and we're delighted to have you with us here at this amazing racing facility. I'm Greg Creamer, joined by Calvin Fish, Eric Mueller joining as well. And Calvin, first of all, got to be pumped about what we're about to see here. Multi-class racing, a huge field, 4 miles of racetrack where you've got room to get it done, and yet we saw incredibly close, action-packed rubbing happening yesterday as well.
Yeah, I mean, every driver you talk to throughout this field just loves coming back to Road America. Massive crowd here today. It's fun to be down in Turn 5 at the start of that IndyCar race and see the massive crowd up there on the banks and in the grandstands, and many of them are sticking around to see this showcase for Pirelli World Challenge. I think the interesting fact will be how these Pirelli P0s match with the IndyCar rubber that's out there. Reflecting back to St. Pete and talking to some of the teams here this morning, they said their cars got a little greasy that day, so they're trying to guesstimate what to do to the car setup to really have a good balance throughout the course of this 50-minute race.
Well, you talk about braking zones, especially crossing the rubber more than anything. That Firestone rubber laid down with the IndyCar series. Pirelli rubber, the braking zones are a little bit different, so it makes the braking zones just that much more treacherous going into this particular race weekend, especially Turn 5, Turn 8, and Turn 12. You can get a lot of wheel hop in Turn 12 as well. So paying attention to how these cars will cross the IndyCar rubber moving forward.
Well, that's why these opening laps, it's really a bit of a dichotomy, isn't it? Because you can't wait around. This is a 50-minute race. These cars notoriously difficult to pass with every once in a while when you get into wash. So if you've got opportunity, you've got to go. But at the same time, you really don't know. There's no warm-up here after the IndyCar race that just completed. You don't necessarily know for a lap, maybe half a lap at least, just what you've got for a car at this stage, do you?
No, you don't. And but there's a lot of experience at the front of this field, certainly in the GT class, but they're going to be pushing hard. They know track position is so critical here. You want to get to the front early, make those moves. Certainly that brake zone down at Turn 5 is the optimum place to do that, but you don't want to risk the race. Then once you get into a rhythm 2 or 3 laps in, then it's all about managing those tires in case we get a longer green flag run than we saw here yesterday.
And there's a look at that field. It's, as I said, 42 cars strong. GT cars up front. There'll be a little bit of a split back to the GTS field. And, of course, in each of those classes, there are the subclasses, GTA, GTSA. In both of those classes yesterday, we saw some stellar. In GTA, the battle between Martin Fuentes, who looked comfortable at one point in the race, Parker Chase ran him down, and they had a slice and dice last few laps of that race that Martin just was able to hang on. There's a look at Parker. He'd like to take that one step better today.
Yeah, he's learning a lot. He's really learning his craft very well under the tutelage of Peter Barron, who's now on board with that team, and certainly Ryan Diallo. He shares that car with in the Sprint X rounds. But, getting back to the GTS category, what a run by Mark Clennon yesterday, winning GTSA, but was battling for the lead, going for it on Ian James there on one of the restarts.
Yeah, had his best qualifying ever with a 3rd overall in that category and just had a fabulous run. And he said, I just needed to do what I did in qualifying. He said, if I do it right, it's quick, and he was able to execute. A couple of key stories we need to touch on. First of all, yesterday, Sofronis losing his best qualifying lap starting at the back. Lawson Aschenbach, mechanical issue in qualifying, crashing, having to start at the back. Both of them great charges through the field. Then Aschenbach hit again in the same corner that he had the mechanical failure. Huge effect on points.
It was massive because he had to visit pit lane. They had to check it out. Ultimately, he was out of the point-scoring positions. Sofronis nearly nipped the victory there right at the end, but got massive bonus points with the pole position here today with the fastest lap and second place. So it's really tight now.
Yeah, 1 point. Unbelievable stuff. And just a quick note here, Alvaro Parent, he got his first ever win here at Road America. Amazingly, the first ever win for K-Pax Racing at Road America, but the 50th win for that team. That was a huge milestone for that program here.
It's great. What a testimony to that whole group. Saw Jim Huey this morning. Offered my congratulations.
Yeah, it was absolutely remarkable what they achieved. So we are very close to getting this officially underway here. You take a look at that great field, and way up at the front, down by pit out, that is where the command is going to happen. So with no further ado, let's get to the front of the grid. And Alex Gelman, CEO of Vertical Bridge, for that very special command.
Drivers, start your engines.
That great field. That's a great look at it. There's Alvaro Parent. A miserable start to the season, Calvin, but just got his second win of the season. It's all coming good, and those Bentleys just seem to feed at this track. I think this was the third win for a Bentley in 4 years here at Road America.
Yes, it's been a happy hunting ground here at Road America, and I think the big surprise yesterday was in qualifying that we didn't see one of those Bentleys on the pole position, but Alvaro made the moves like he always does. He's sensational at the start of these sprint races, really seems to be able to drive the car on the limit, and recognizing that Bentley is typically kind to the tires. It really doesn't ignite the tire as quickly as some of the other marks, but when you got Alvaro behind the wheel, it doesn't matter. He went straight to the front.
Yeah, and his restarts are just otherworldly. He's just something. You were talking about that, Eric, things getting a little greasy out there. That normally plays into the hands of the Porsches that have those engines right over the drive wheels. They're always pretty quick here. They may have a little bit more in their quiver here than they showed yesterday.
Well, it certainly helps them in the braking zone as well with the crossing of the rubber. Just it keeps them stabilized. It keeps them balanced. That load, especially in a downhill into turn 5 and even into turn 8, those Porsches just seem to get through those two corners extremely well, and those are critical corners when trying to combine a really good lap here. So especially on a charge with the temperatures up high, look for those Porsches to move forward.
Yeah, I think they could. And even with Lawson having his issues yesterday with having to pit after the damage and finishing way at the back, that crew, second time in a short time, did a rebuild on that left rear corner. He laid down a lap that was good for fourth, so at least he starts up front to be able to try and stem some of the flow here.
And that's the key with the great teams. It's damage control. You're having a bad day. How do you get something out of it? And they did that with a really fast lap for Lawson. So expect him to be very aggressive here. We've seen in recent rounds, Greg, talking about cars coming to life. That Camaro comes to life very quickly. It's a little bit heavier, so it works the tires a little bit quicker, gets them up to temperature, and he's going to try and get that track position early, you would feel.
Yeah, and James Sofronis, fast lap, putting him on pole. That's an extra point that, is great. He had a great run, just a stellar run, and that was his 25th anniversary of his first ever pro race right here at Road America. That's cool. But Ian James, he's still starting from the third spot of the GTS grid, but he's going for a fourth straight win here. It's possible.
It is, yeah. The car's very quick, and he managed his tires to perfection. When he come under pressure at the end of the race yesterday, he had enough in hand to lay down his fastest lap of the race on the very last lap of the race to keep that win from James Sofronis, who was certainly flying.
And just a couple of other guys I just wanted to point out who had tremendous runs yesterday. Alan Brynjolfsson had a superb run, had a off during the one of the first practice sessions, and then from that point on, never put a wheel wrong, had a really solid run. Jason Bell had a great late charge and found himself finishing in the 5th spot in the A category in the GTSA category after having been back a little bit. Brynjolfsson finished in the 3rd spot in GTSA, 5th overall, along with Clennan's tremendous drive. But the other guy who had a great charge from dead last because he had a big wreck in qualifying and they had to run a backup car was George Kurtz, who fought his way from back of the pack up into 7th in the GTSA category. So some great stories everywhere. But as I said, this is going to be a show where we're really looking a little bit more at GTA. And you look at what we have here. Alvaro Parent, 12-time winner, 2016 champion. Scott Hargrove, who lit the season up with a sweep at St. Pete, who is superbly fast. In the 3rd qualifying spot, the number 24, that Porsche that just flashed by, he just won Le Mans in the GTE Pro category. Michael Christensen, Tony Vielander alongside the Arferi Ferrari, 2-time Le Mans winner. Daniel Mancinelli, who is one of the guys who just sort of popped onto the scene, who's just wickedly quick. This is going to be spectacular, and the GTA battle behind it could be equally as good.
Yeah, and if you looked at the start yesterday, Hargrove made that monumental start, tried to go around the outside of Mancinelli. They fought it out all the way down into turn 5. He knows that he's got to get some points back on Tony Vielander because every position is critical right now. He's got Vielander starting right behind him. You'd have to believe that Scott Hargrove knows that Bentley is going to be very fast here. He's got to make a move early.
And you see lights out on the safety vehicle. There is that front row. Alvaro Parent in the Capex Bentley, dark blue and yellow, alongside that multicolored Pfaff Castrol Porsche of Scott Hargrave. Then it is Christensen on the inside in the Porsche. Then the 61 Ferrari of Vielander on the outside. safety vehicle in the pit lane, and we are looking forward to the green. You can see the gap back to the GTS cars. We are focused right here, and it takes a while to climb this hill and see that green flag, so they tend to be relatively late greens. But we're ready to go, as is Christensen. Note how close he is up behind Alvaro Parent. And we are green, racing here at Road America. And Parent, look down to the inside. Mancinelli in that white Ferrari for a second showed his nose, Cal.
He did. Christensen had to defend that immediately. Look at Vilander. He's boxed out a little bit here. Christensen, a nice start here. Can he slide up in the second spot? Mancinelli tries to go wide. Little brush there between Hargrove and Mancinelli through turn one. Baptista's there looking on the inside, as is Daniel Morad. Wheels in the grass.
Yep, opportunity. You need to make something happen here. And Mancinelli, he threaded the needle and shot through those two, but Christensen had that inside line, and he got a great drive out of 3.
He's got the draft effect down there straightaway and the run down towards turn 5. We talked about Hargrove having the better start in the Porsche. It was his other Porsche stablemate there in Michael Christensen going deep into the brake zone. Brent protects to the inside, trying to do the undercut here. Can he get the acceleration? Can he get the drive up to turn 6?
Ooh, I'll tell you, that little fade.
He's there.
Yep. I think Alvaro realized that was, he started his move after Christensen made his, and he said, I'll let that go.
Little respect there between there. You see Morad take a ride there. Now Hargrove is off in the dirt. Mancinelli pushes him wide.
Oh, those two had contretemps yesterday.
Look at the radiator grill. It is stacked. That's going to be a problem for our championship leader overall.
Morad and Baptista going into turn 1 on the initial start were 3 wide and made some contact as well. But that grill packed full of all that Road America turf, that car is going to start to overheat. Even though you've got a radiator up front, those air inlets on the front of that Porsche, that car is going to overheat very quickly if they don't clear that out.
Well, and what he needs to do maybe is try and get up really close to the back of Mancinelli and see if the arrow coming off of Mancinelli's Ferrari might not just clear that out. But getting those two, they not a lot of love lost, as I said. Getting too close to Mancinelli, you don't know what's going to happen.
Well, they got into it in turn 5 on the opening lap yesterday with Hargrove making a very aggressive move down to the inside and Mancinelli not giving enough room, and Hargrove spun out and dropped several positions. But this is not the start that he was looking for. I think he was looking to grab the lead. He's been demoted several spots and has a problem with that radiator grill.
Yeah, it's going to be fascinating to follow and see just what unfolds with what he does here. Just keeping you up to date on what's going on in the GTS category. James Safronis leads over Gottsacker, and we'll give you the update as they come by and complete their first lap. That was how they started, at any rate. Look at this. Martin Fuentes, he wanted nothing to do with that group of GTSA guys behind him. He's up there duking it out right now with Daniel Morad.
Great battle going on there with Yuki Harada and Parker Chase through turn 1.
Boy, and you called it, Cal, for GTS. Just to update you, Lawson Aschenbach. That Camaro comes to life in a big hurry. He's into the early lead in the GTS category. But here's that battle you're talking about. And what a debut in Pirelli World Challenge for Anthony Imperato in that white with the orange stripe. That is a Wright Motorsports Porsche. And he's done a lot of one-make racing. Ooh, deep around the outside here. As we go back, and
Gottsack got to the front. He's got around Lawson Aschenbach. That Sin is showing great pace here this weekend. Got a BOP adjustment, Greg. Balance of performance. So they've got more throttle opening, more power, and he's really in the mix here this weekend.
Yeah, had a great lap in that race yesterday. Put him up for second, but now Aschenbach down to the inside. And again, knows he's got good grip on those tires. It comes in so quick. That Camaro has always been strong on braking. He put it to good use. Buford in that gray Mustang sits in third. And then it is Safronis, the pole sitter, slipped back to fourth with James right behind him in the Panos.
Yeah, see Lawson there weaving around on the run up to turn 6. He may have gone a little bit wide earlier in the lap and just got some marbles on his tires trying to get those cleaned off. That was not a defensive maneuver on Gottsacker. He's very close still. Buford looking at the inside down into turn 8.
That top 5, there's the Panos in 5th behind him, and a little bit of a gap back to local Wisconsin favorite. That's Jeff Courtney. And nice to have him here. He has come so close at this track a number of times, Eric. Boy, it'd be nice for him to nail one today, huh?
Oh, absolutely. Jeff loves this racetrack, loves coming home to Milwaukee. Consistent with that Maserati. Obviously doesn't have the driver aids that many of these other cars do, so he's doing a whole lot with a whole little. And certainly Jeff loves this racetrack, as we mentioned, and the Canada Rec Stuff car picking up a new sponsor this year as well, and just trying to make things work in that GTS class.
Look at James Safronis having a little look at Jade Buford.
I think that was a twofer there. He's looking at the inside of Jade and also taking that lane away from me, and James is really close behind him.
Well, and I think that's something you can use when, okay, I know I wasn't blocking. I was actually taking a look, seeing if I go through. It's a good double excuse, as you said. But that little bit of a bobble has cost him about 3 car lengths. And look at Buford, got a huge run, and he's going with Gottsacker up the hill.
Yeah, and I think he's going to have a good run here, maybe even be able to get around the Cinders, getting at the brake zone, but he's going to be boxed out a little bit as Lawson Aschenbach comes back at this pair a little bit down the straightaway. Harry Gottsacker, the young 18-year-old, trying to defend from Jake Buford. Buford to the inside. Gottsacker swings across and takes the apex.
So Gottsacker just looked very impressive, especially late in the race yesterday. Now here comes Ian James as well.
Yeah, he's got around James Sofronis. Now looks to the inside on Lawson Aschenbach. That Pano's gone for 4 straight victories here. Sofronis a good exit off of turn 3, putting the pressure on Aschenbach.
Courtney trying to go right with him is already young Harry Gottsacker, 18 years old. I think you mentioned that, stretching that margin just a little bit. Let's see if Ian James able to do anything under braking here on Buford. Nope. Sofronis tucking right in behind. Sofronis in that white and blue GMG Audi, right behind Lawson Aschenbach.
I think for Gottsacker, this is good news. He's got the track position, he's got the lead, he's got 2 or 3 car length lead. He doesn't have to defend with a different line, and this is the section of the racetrack where he's really strong coming up into the carousel. Cannot believe that Hargrove's able to stay out there with that radiator grill packed like that.
Boy, I'd love to be hearing what the radio discussion is between he and his crew. Ooh, Wielander taking a serious look there. And the question is, if we start to see Hargrove backing up just a little bit, that might be overheating because that will rob power.
Absolutely, he will lose power if the engine starts to overheat, and then you get into some electronic issues where you can go into a fail-safe mode as well.
Mentioning Hargrove in that grass, he actually got off a second time between 7 and 8 on the outside of the driver's left, so he's been in the dirt again a second time, so that's even more getting packed in.
Well, that may have been dirty tires and the like still from
Absolutely.
that first off, obviously. And Daniel Mancinelli, they were very stringent. They had a second drivers meeting here today to clear up some of the issues. And everybody in that meeting said, just get stricter, let's get stricter. So they radioed to the 31 crew and said, your one and only warning for blocking. And and they're said, we're going to start to really, really enforce that. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. But Hargrove is just losing serious space here, isn't he?
Well, the line in the sand with the driver conduct is really being proactive, not reactive to the guy behind you. Hargrove had a run on Mancinelli coming through turn 7, and then Mancinelli basically took that lane away. So I felt he was reacting to Hargrove's move, and certainly has had consequence. But now things are settling in. A little surprised here about Perrin just not really able to keep pace with Christensen right now. We'll have to see if that changes during the course of this 50-minute race, because maybe Christensen started his tire pressures a little bit higher, get them to come alive, but they could overpressure. Maybe Perrin will start to find his sweet spot.
Well, and I mean, obviously, Michael Christensen, a world-class driver. He's incredibly quick, certainly, but he's very much used to a different style of racing. And he, you know, one of the things that he's had to adapt to is, he said, the risk that they take in this series immediately is something that is kind of foreign to me, to be honest. And he said, I think he figured it out today. He said, if I'm going to do something here, I've just got to go. And man, has he.
Yeah, and what a month it's been for him, winning the Sprint X round with Spencer Bumpelli on Memorial Day weekend, getting the brilliant oh, look at this, a late move by James Clay down to the inside on Courtney.
Boy, Courtney, that's class act racing. Sensed him coming, gave him the lane if he needed it, and now still giving him a little bit of room, but running very strong around the outside. That's racing with respect and also tremendous track awareness. And I think we have to give Clay some credit, as he placed his car right where Courtney could see him in the mirrors.
He did. It's just really respectful driving. And this is what the stewards are looking for. They know that there's going to be heated exchanges out there, but give each other a little bit of racing room, give each other some respect, and then we can get through these races with a little less carnage.
You keep in mind, Courtney right now in that Maserati, right there, that orange wheeled sort of gray and black Maserati, leading the GTSA category right now, with Clay in the Bimmerwell BMW, Brynjolfsson in that fluorescent yellow Volt Lighting Mustang, although he just got passed there by Drew Stavely, who's a driver who's been very much on form. And in front of them, right behind Clay, is that white McLaren once again of Clennon. And boy, battle looked like it was heading down. Yeah, look at this move.
Wow, Headland there, deep on the brakes to the inside. Nice move there on Preston Calvert. Those two cars came together, unfortunately, yesterday. They talked it out and said, you know what, we're okay with it. We're just going to give each other a bit more room here today. Tony Gapel's there in the mix as well.
But Stavely and Brynjolfsson have it go side by side in a Canada there too. They're just trying to mind the P's and Q's. But you look at this field right now, stretched out a little bit. There's Martin Fuentes as well. Had a great day yesterday for Martin. But you look at this field kind of spread out a little bit. This is this battle with Morad and Baptista continues to be back and forth. And they've made a few times have a few side-to-side contact. Understand the 45 as well in GTS. Headland has had a sportsmanship flag as well.
Yeah, well, and that was, we saw that moment with the 51 at Calvert, which let Jason Bell come through in the number 2 Global Motorsports Group Audi. But just watch that move by Daniel Morad there, Cal. He came from way back down into turn 8. Again, Baptista sensed it coming, knew if he turned in there might be contact, gave him room, but he ended up running off track a little bit. It cost him.
Again, that's exactly what you're looking for. I mean, Daniel made a big move down the inside, didn't overcommit, didn't run out wide. Oh, big problems here as Yuki, I believe, through the key.
Yuki and Imperato, perhaps?
I think you're right, Greg.
That car that just exited, you can see a lot of smoke coming from the right front corner. I think it's just damage on the tire.
Wow, if he got away with this, you're right, there's Imperato. And I think Yuki may have got away with it.
Oh,
you
man.
do not lose it at the kink and drive away very often here.
Well, it may help if there's a car to the outside to kind of soften the blow a bit.
Well, and he is exiting. I don't know that the car is completely healthy, but I don't see any significant damage. Yeah, you're right. He was able to drive off. And he had that great battle in the second race at Road America last year with Marco Radicic in the GT Cup category. Won the first day and finished a close second on the second day, stepping up to the GT3 full-on GTSA field this year, and has been an absolute player for the championship. But Michael Christensen is just driving a superb race in that InSync Healthcare Systems Allegra Porsche.
Yeah, both Porsches have actually died down very similar lap times. 2:07.3s for Christensen, our leader, as the ultimate fast lap. Also Hargrove has a similar lap time, about 3 or 4 tenths up on the rest of the field. So certainly peak performance, the Porsche is good. The big question mark is going to be over this long run.
And just got an update from the pits, and there's a look at it, Cal.
Yeah, just side by side there through the kink, and typically it's not going to work. And I'd have to say that both boys there survived a big one.
Yeah, the kink is turn 11 and 2 into 11. That's tough math, and it rarely works out well. You go back to this battle, and look at this now.
Chase.
Yeah, Parker's doing it again.
The chase is on.
Yeah, he's just been on form. Obviously, at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, got his first ever GTSA win. And that's just absolutely lit him up. And Ryan Dial, who is his coach and, of course, his co-driver in the Sprint X category, has said that it was during the Canadian Tire Motorsport Park weekend. He said it really seemed like Parker just made that next big step.
Yeah, and it's just baby steps at this stage of the game, and he's got a lot of talent, and just refining that and just honing those skills just that little bit more, because he's in the big leagues now. And you look at the front of this field, it is stacked with experience and speed.
And when I asked him, I said, last year he ran GTS in a Ginetta, and I said, ooh, look at this good battle here. Again, Aschenbach under attack from Clennon right now. And Courtney right there, Clennon way down the inside.
Ooh, that's overcommitting.
Yeah.
ABS fully kicked in there. He's got to just keep it, not buried, but just keep the throttle alive here to get through that gravel trap and recover here.
That's a
Then
nice
he's got to
save.
think about tires are going to be dirty. Just tiptoe through these next couple of corners.
Yeah, that's the one thing with the ABS. You've said it many times. You can still overdrive a corner with the ABS. It isn't a panacea. And you can see he got in there, and all of a sudden a big wiggle from the car. Off he went. So now he's just going to have to gather it up. And that Premier Copier, Von Sydow Moving and Storage, a Chicago company that stepped up to help here as we go to the lead in the GTS category. Still that red sin from Racer's Edge Motorsports of Harry Gottsacker, but now Ian James lurking right there in second. And DePanos, same story here.
Super deep. Went to the inside, backed out of it, had to go for it again, otherwise he's going to run over the top of Martin Fuentes. Little touch there, little argy-bargy up to turn 6.
This is probably the 4th or 5th time these guys have had that same thing unfold in turn 5. Martin said Parker's just been diabolical on the brakes, and that Audi makes such good downforce. He goes so deep. See a little bit of damage there from that touch.
Yeah, left side of Parker's car has certainly got something adrift.
While things have settled, just want to make a note here. We've got 2 specialty awards early. The Optima Batteries Best Starts in GT was Michael Christensen, and that Allegra Porsche up 2, and in GTS, points leader Lawson Aschenbach up 3 spots in the early going. And an update from the pits I was going to mention from Ryan Marine. He said Hargrove's temperatures in that Porsche with the all the grass in the grill were going up. He backed off from Mancinelli. The temperatures dropped, and the crew said if they stay where they are, we're okay.
Well, that's dodging a big bullet, I tell
Boy,
you, because someone who's in the thick of both championships overall and the sprint championship as well, he cannot afford to have a bad day with Vilander seem to score on points consistently.
Here's your margin. Christensen up the hill, then Parent with Mancinelli right there, just a few car lengths back. And again, you know Mancinelli has speed around here. He put that car in pole for the first race of the doubleheader here this weekend. Going back into the field a little bit, I think that's Frank Gannett in the number 24 Ian Lacey Racing Ginetta, and a great run with James Pesic here in the PF Racing Mustang, looking down to the inside. Pesic carrying a new sponsor, Cole College, where he graduated from in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. He also played fullback on their Division III AA championship team that made it to the second round of the national championship. We've had a big off under the bridge. That is Jason Bell and Alan Brynjolfsson. Bell in that Audi and Brynjolfsson in that yellow Mustang that was wobbling but continued on. But look at that whack to the wall, Cal.
Yeah, big impact there, and as right as the GT leaders were starting to get their first encounter with lap traffic here today.
Immediately a full course caution. Flagging rules dictate that where the incident is, that just stays a waving single yellow to let everybody know. Boy. Well, you hit those K-rails, and Eric, you know an awful lot about what's around this track, and those things aren't light. Here's another look at it.
Here's a look at it. Brynjolfsson, kind of drove in pretty deep on the inside, taking the defensive line, that
wasn't super aggressive by either one. They just locked horns there at the wrong time, and it just turned Jason immediately into the wall.
Yeah.
I think they were trying to give each other room there coming off at turn 5, the exit there where there was a maneuver, obviously, but then that was just unfortunate. 9 times out of 10, you're going to get away with a little rub there and continue.
But that left rear completely separating on the back of that Audi.
Well, and what happened was we saw on that replay when that one rail, that K-rail went back, we always talk about the leading edge, it created it, and it just scythed right through that left rear corner, as you talked about. You can see Jason going, I'm okay.
Yeah, just caught him at the critical point, that polar moment there in the car.
I don't necessarily think he was saying I'm okay. I think he was stressing his displeasure. At
I think he
point.
started with I'm okay.
Yeah.
However, so he was obviously a little upset. What are you going to say?
Well, I just caught him at the wrong point
right,
and the side of the car, just enough to turn him. And, I'm sure he's very frustrated and thinks it's all on Alan's shoulders in terms of turning him around. But conversely, Jason could have moved a bit more to the middle of the road and given each other a bit more room. He had the move made. He was on the inside. There was nowhere for Brynjolfsson to go with it. But
and just a half foot to the left, it probably would have been no touch. So, it's sad when you have one car that suffers obviously significantly more than the other one, but that was kind of a racing incident. But it's not like Brynjolfsson has a healthy, clean race car at this point either. Obviously some damage at this point.
I would think that he'll be maybe coming in to address that rear bumper.
Yeah, I mean, that'll be looked at, obviously. The corner workers will look at it. The officials will look at it. The crew will look at it. But the problem is that, if it stays on, that's great. If it falls off in an area where there's nothing happening, that's great. But if it falls off right in front of somebody, gets underneath their wheel, and I think Jason Bell is saying, I'll get in that vehicle, but I want to.
They say a photo is worth 1,000 words.
And it's hard to hide for Alan with that bright yellow.
Yes, that's a good point. Oh, well, that'll get him a fine.
Well, the universal signal there.
Yeah.
So I'm seriously displeased.
Yeah. Well, sorry about that, folks. We thought it might just be a little fish shake or something, and he decided to take it to the next level. Obviously a bit displeased. But keep in mind that he had rented his second car to Mark Clennon after Clennon's big wreck at CTMP, and that car in Clennon's hands, no fault of Mark Clennon, got absolutely destroyed by an errant car coming down the inside. So he's looking at now 2 races in a row where his personal vehicles have had a lot of damage. And he knows he's got a fairly competitive car here, obviously. I mean, he had a great run yesterday, moving over to the Global Motorsports Group camp, and they got through that car, and he's had a great run yesterday. And I think he's really frustrated just because he knew he had a pretty quick car. And for Christensen, Cal, all that hard work, gone.
reset, but he seems to have the pace. I mean,
Yes, he
another
does.
man who's suddenly finding some lap time is Daniel Morat. He sits back there in the 6th position, so maybe he's found the rhythm of his car and can do something here in the second part of this race also.
Well, Morad and Baptista certainly have had quite the battle for 6th and 7th, swapping him a few times here. But Hargrove holding station in 4th. He's having a good run this afternoon.
And the key right now, Eric, at this stage of the game is really mano a mano with he and Tony Vilander. So, you know, you just got to look at those points tables and realize you've got to take points away from the other man.
Yep, that's your mission to be sure. And interestingly, you talked about it. Christensen in the Porsche has the fastest lap. Hargrove in the Porsche, second fastest lap, 1/1000th of a second off. That is as close as it gets. It's amazing stuff. So the field gathered up. There's a look at our. Now, under caution here, one of the things he can try and do, I would think, Cal, is one, run over some curbs, try and jostle that stuff loose, especially if you could just gas it and then hammer the brake and hope that you can get that to fall out. Because I think if he does that, he's got pace. He might be able to attack a little bit.
Yeah, for certain. If he could just clear any of it off, just to aid the airflow into that motor, and the cooling obviously would be beneficial. And as we got the report from pit lane, he's having to back away from Mancinelli, otherwise those temperatures were skyrocketing.
The danger here would be you're not going very fast. If you can't shake it loose, you're not going very fast. You're not moving air as quickly into the radiator fins, that you're not going to be able to keep that car as cool.
Yeah, I mean, these cars are designed the way they get cool, you're right, is to have air moving through. It doesn't have any fan or anything like that to help it out, so it's going to be pretty crucial for them to get that flow going. But I think the bigger, I mean, obviously that was a big hit for Jason Bell. It's going to take a while to get that car cleaned up, but then they're going to have to fix those concrete barriers as well. But as I've said many times here, the Road America track safety team is second to none in what they can achieve in amazingly short order here.
The GTS fast laps of the day, and James, I think, just holds down the fastest lap, but it's very evenly matched between the top 4. Gottsaka just a 10th off of that pace. Buford very much in the mix as well, as is Sofronis. Ascherbach's fastest lap is quite a ways off the pace. He's only got a best lap of 2:21, so he's a couple of seconds off the leaders, even though he's up in decent point shape in 6th position right now.
Yeah, Courtney continues to run 5th overall, and the way it works for GT and for GTS, your points are accumulated in the overall order. So if you've got 3 GTSA cars in front of you, you don't get those points. You don't automatically shuffle up. So having Courtney there, having a tremendous run, but for Aschenbach, he'd certainly like to get back and around that. And we might be getting a replay, so I'm going to give you a heads up, of that incident once again up into turn 6.
That car's so bent they can't even close the door right now.
Yeah,
that car's bent up hard.
Yeah, that's. I'm sure that's all part of the frustration for Jason, is that he knows this is another virtual write-off here. Here's a look at it again, Cal.
Well, here we see the 2 cars coming down at the brake zone for turn 5. Allen takes it in a little bit deeper, then runs a little bit wide here. Jason does the undercut, little nudge there. Preston Calvert there, very much in the mix. And as we climb the hill, you can see there's really not. Well, I haven't said that.
Yeah.
I think Allen had a bit more room to the right than I thought initially, so maybe a little bit of a misjudgment on his part to actually create the contact. I thought he was pretty much in the grass, but he really. We're talking about inches. Yeah.
He did not. I mean, just suddenly turn hard left, and he was trying to ease onto the track as much as he could. And I think it was just both drivers maybe just missed the judgment just a smidge. It's tough at speed. You're trying to pay attention to everything going on, and you think you left him room, and you didn't. And it's just one of those deals.
It's also easier for us to make that determination in slow motion as opposed to at speed behind the wheel.
And you're bounding across those curves and everything. And the interesting thing was the little bit of a touch as well. Not that really would have affected things, but I think in terms of stewards' reviews and the like, that little touch as he tried to cut underneath could have an effect as well.
Oh, you mean the touch at apex?
Yeah.
Well, Brynolfsson, almost parked, with that, on the binders, almost parked in front of him. So, but you're absolutely right. That contact could be considered.
Yep. Everything is considered, that's for sure. And run by Baptiste again should give this young man some shout-outs. Remember last year he was running a GTS Porsche for Flying Lizard Motorsports, and had a very good season with 4 wins and showed some great speed. And they decided when they were switching to the Bentley and they needed a second driver to go with Parent, they decided to give him an opportunity. And tell you, what was it, VIR? He promptly, along with his teammate, ended up with an overall win, and was very impressive again at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. And they said, well, you know what, clearly this guy's ready to be a pro right now, and he's lived up to it.
He's an amazing talent, and I think I've said this before, Greg. He reminds me of JPM, Juan Pablo Montoya,
Yes.
in terms of didn't say a lot out of the car, but just did all of his talking behind the wheel. And they look similar, and they have similar driving talent as well in terms of raw speed.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive stuff. So Christensen, Parent, so Porsche, Bentley, then Ferrari and Mancinelli, the Porsche of Hargrove, the 96 in 4th. Vielander in the 61R Ferry Ferrari sits in 5th, and Daniel Murad in the De Vilbius CRP Mercedes in the 6th spot. Baptista in the Opticoat Bentley number 3 sits in 7th. 8th overall is your GTA leader, Martin Fuentes, in the Hublot Alpha Prime Ferrari. Then the 19 of Parker Chase in the Vertical Bridge Music Momentum Audi from True Speed. Then David Askew having a good run in the DXDT machine. That's one of the Mercedes-AMG GT3s, having a solid run. 3rd in GTA right now. Andy Wilsock 4th. Joining Flying Lizard in their GT3R Porsche for this one. And leading in GT Cup is Ryan Hardwick in the Lamborghini Huracan Super Trofeo. Here's a look at the GTS start, Cal.
Yeah, side by side here with James Sofronis on the inside from the pole. Gottsacker in that red cint to his flank. Ian James there looking at the inside from row 2.
You see Lawson literally almost helping Gottsacker, and then dove to the inside down into 3.
Well, he's got the confidence, he's got the experience, and that car always comes to life very quickly.
And as a result, of course, you saw Sofronis kind of get shuffled a bit. And now back to live action here, and obviously cars are just doing the bob and weave, trying to clean junk off their tires and the like. And we're getting a report that the number 77 has just been black flagged into the pit lane. So that's generally the call that they've adjudged him to be what they call incident responsibility.
Well, initially I thought, he didn't have any room. Then when we saw that replay, I think he did have maybe a couple of inches to his right, so there was really no need for contact. And again, it's like, well, you can back right out of the throttle, let the guy go. I think for Jason Bell, he could have maybe moved a bit more to the middle of the road. Recognizing you got someone on your flank, you can't truly identify how much room is there, but,
exactly.
They're on the safety side, and certainly bit both drivers now with the penalty.
I think, in all fairness for Bell, too, if he's looking in his left mirror, there was already the 3rd car coming in from behind him as well. So he doesn't want to move too far to the left,
right,
just simply because he doesn't want to take up the racing line for any cars coming in behind him yet. So
now it's possible this black flag could be mechanical for that damage to the back of the car, although that bumper fell off. But normally they would call that a mechanical black, not just black, and that's not what they said. So
incident responsibility.
It is an incident responsibility that's been confirmed. Yeah, good point. So, looking for an update, and hopefully we'll get some word here from how quick that cleanup will take here.
Well, it looks like the car is on the rollback, but they were having quite the hard time getting the car up just
right,
because of all that rear end damage. So what they actually did is they pulled it up the hill and then try to get it to roll frontwards on from the looks of things, just to try to get it onto the rollback.
Well, that makes sense. Obviously, it's a good way to do it. Do you want to mention Ryan Hardwick out of Atlanta, Georgia, running alone in the GT Cup category? But he has done really a solid job. I mean, he's in and amongst a lot of awful fast cars frequently, hasn't put a wheel wrong, understands what he's doing out there. And in that first form, Dream Racing, Lamborghini Huracan, the Super Trofeo version of that car, just making another start here, running solo, so we sure appreciate him coming and filling up that category for us. A nice job there. And then going into the GTS category, obviously Eric Gottsacker in the Racers Edge Sin R1. Number 69 continues to lead it over Ian James in the 50 Pano Savazano GT. Jade Buford in the PF Racing Ford Mustang, the number 50. 55 carrying an actual 1 at the end of it, too, because there's another 55 in the race. Then James Sofronis. Courtney sits the lead in GTSA. Then behind him is Aschenbach, and it's that battle for basically 4th, 5th, and 6th. That has great points implications right now. We continue to follow that, and those two, again, really close.
Yeah, and getting back to the GTS leader, Harry Gottsack, I spoke to John Maraki from Races Edge just before the green flag today, and he said, you know what, the car was really good yesterday. We got that BOP adjustment, which has got us back to where we were at the beginning of the year, so we're in the mix. He said Harry got a little bit excited yesterday, and what you can do, Greg, when you're using the paddle shifter, you can ask for more gears. He thought it wasn't responding, so he was grabbing another downshift, which meant when he finally slowed down, he was in too low a gear, so it was self-induced, so he's just got to calm things down a little bit, but he's going to feel the heat from behind. Ian James going for his 4th consecutive victory here in GTS competition.
Well, that may be the good thing, obviously, for Ian James and certainly Lawson Aschenbach. Heavier cars because of the big V8s. They do tend to run the tires off a little quicker than the others, and this caution will give them a little bit of extended tire life to be able to attack. And that's really not what Harry wanted, to have Ian James with a pretty fresh Panos behind him.
No, and a lot of experience there and a lot of confidence. And but I mean, we've seen on numerous occasions where Harry Gottsack has all of the speed, and I think it's just coming down to learning the racecraft, and this will be the biggest test he's seen in a long time to try and bring this one home here today. Good to see such a huge crowd here, and many of them sticking around for this action here to finish off the race weekend. It's been a great weekend. Great to be back here at Road America always. Certainly
fantastic
one of my
crowd
favorites.
this weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, the fans know you come here, especially with the weather forecast we had. It's the National Park of Speed is what it's called, for good reason. And I'm kind of curious here as to what the front grille looks like. I think it looks like it may have cleared out for the 96 of Hargrave here. Here he comes. And, yeah, I don't see that dirt and debris in there anymore, guys. So Hargrove might be in much better shape on this restart.
It also looks like that front splitter, Greg, is maybe not perfectly straight. It looks a little warped. Well, that's a better look at it. You can actually see it here.
Well, he did do those splitters when you get off track sure turned into
He went for a ride there, didn't
great
he?
mowing blades and sometimes shovels. All right, lights out on the safety car. We are going green this time. That's a long caution, but again, just stellar work by the Road America safety crew to get this cleaned up. And Christensen,
Very slow, deliberate pace here out of 12.
Well, I think it was a late call. Maybe they didn't expect to be going back to green this early, and maybe Christensen would have backed off a little bit sooner in the lap if he'd known that.
but he sure wants to let that safety car get a lot of distance so it's in the pit lane before he decides to drop the hammer. And he's got that acceleration zone that they are talked to about, and it's kind of up to him when he wants to go a little bit.
There he goes.
He's made his move.
But still a very slow.
Vilander got dropped there big time, Eric.
Big
yeah, he
time.
did. Great jump there, and really even Perrin, Mancinelli, and Hargrove. Vilander kind of got caught sleeping a little bit.
Yeah, and Perrent is just remarkable restarts normally, and that was when Christensen played that to perfection. Look at Hargrove trying to clean those tires off, and Mancinelli attacking on Perrent, Cal.
Yeah, watch Hargrove, though. He's got good exit speed off of turn one. He's going to be looking down there as they hit the brakes for three.
Well, now that he doesn't really have to worry about the heating, the overheating on the engine, now he can push. Now he can attack.
Mancinelli protected there a little bit. Eric took the middle of the road. That compromised his radius through the turns, allowed Hargrove a good run here.
Interesting to see, and obviously can Vilander catch a little bit of a toe and rejoin this group. Watch Hargrove. He's not close enough. And again, Mancinelli, though, is protecting big time, Cal.
He is. I mean, again, it's like that too for O'Connor, looking at the inside of Perrin, but mainly taking that lane away from the guy behind. Look at this, Lawson Aschenbach having to defend big time here.
Yeah, normally, I mean, we saw that first restart. He had such good speed early, and it's just not there for him again. James Clay.
Oh, and he's wide.
He's wide, and Clay kind of ran wide with him a little bit.
I think Lawson may have been in the ABS there a little bit, and that just kind of numbs the front of the car, and you can't get to apex.
Yeah, he was lucky to hang on to that and not lose a spot. And Stavely attacking in the Ginetta on the 45 of Headland. Stavely's going to try an outside run through turn 7. You don't get that done cleanly off, and those two guys pulled it off.
That was like cut and paste from yesterday, where Headland was on the inside of Preston Calver, who's right behind him.
That time they managed to make it work.
And that's the key, just giving each other that little bit more racing room, and you can continue to go. Look at Hargrove looking, Morad's on the prowl as well, putting the pressure on Vilander, side by side through Canada corner. Awesome stuff there.
And yeah, Vielander got Hargrove just enough off that curb, Cal, that you could see that Mercedes start to bounce and dance a little bit. He had to just tuck back in behind.
Looking at the lap times prior to the caution, it looked like Murad's car had found its sweet spot a little bit. And his lap times were the best in the race at that stage.
Now completing the lap, going back into the field a little bit, and Courtney attacking on Aschenbach, plays through. Courtney coming after him. Stavely right in the mix. There you just saw Safronis. He's got a little bit of breathing room. Marko Radicic down a lap. So they're dealing with him as well. Marko in a similar car to the Bimmer World BMW.
Stavely there, championship leader, very much in the mix as they climb the hill there. Talked to Ian Lacey. Said this G3 team is really performing very well. We knew we'd be compromised a bit here on the straightaways at Road America, and we're surprised at how far up the grid we were after qualifying.
And this is where they made their debut last year, so it's one of the few tracks they come to with previous knowledge in these Ginettas. A little bit of a wide run there by the 74 Gar Robinson.
Gable's there, the meat in a Ranch 74 sandwich as he now looks down to the inside. 3 Camaros running line astern, obviously first race for these Robinson Racing team, making the switch from the Mercedes AMG. Did a shakedown test at Blackhawk on the way up here, but they'll find the sweet spot with that car. It's a great group there, led by Jimmy Fraser.
It really is. I think he's in, what, this will make him now 30 years where he'll be working with GM equipment. So they were pleased to be able to make the switch. But look at this angry little mob here coming through turn 5. Again, Aschenbach, the 99 of Courtney in that Maserati. And it just always impresses me knowing he's doing this without ABS, without traction control. Stavely in that white and black striped Ginetta right behind him. Meanwhile, up front, Christensen's doing it again, Cal. He's just got this clock right now.
Yeah, they had the setup working well here today. And as we said, some of us a little bit of guesstimate on how your car is going to perform on the IndyCar rubber that was put down. Long race here just before the green flag today.
Here comes Perrette, yesterday's winner. And Mancinelli, and again, Murad looks really quick, showed the nose. Wasn't really close enough to do much with it, but just trying to... it's funny when you see somebody trying to rattle a Tony Vielander, and it's like, the guy's one of the most accomplished GT racers on the globe right now, but you do anything you can, don't you?
He's super cool. He's not going to be flustered at all. He's seen it all. He's been there. He's done that. And young Daniel's super impressive, but he's going to have his work cut out to get that position away from the flying Finn, Tony Vielander.
And once again, there's your leader in the GTA category, that Hublot, now from Prime Ferrari, that runs from Squadra Corsa Garage Italia. But again, Parker Chase coming after him. It looks like Stavely able to get down to the inside of Courtney. Now it's a drag race up the hill.
I love the way they're all giving. Maybe that drivers' meeting worked about an hour before the off-air today, because everyone seems to be giving each other a little bit more racing room. Here comes Mark Clennon. That McLaren has got prodigious straightaway speed. He's putting it to good effect right now.
Oh, and he's got a huge run. He's trying to figure out, who do I go with here, Hedlund or Courtney? Courtney trying the outside through turn 1, gets a little wide. And that should give it back to Hedlund.
That Maserati seems to be Maserati seems to be kind of struggling a little bit on heated tires.
Tell you what, Preston Calvert's having a really impressive weekend in terms of his pace. Disappointed with qualifying. He's one of those drivers that got caught out by that red flag and didn't
Here we
get the
go.
lap in. This is a pass for the lead. Ian James down to the inside. Gets Harry Gottsacker into turn 5.
Now, like we said, that long caution may have given Ian can just say, look, I don't have to worry about managing these Pirelli P0s. I can lean on them and let them do what they do incredibly well, and that is just stick. And what a pass he was. Classic.
Yeah, and Harry didn't really defend it too aggressively there. He recognized he's got a strong car underneath him. This is the section of the racetrack where he should be really good. Watch him through the carousel. He'll probably hang with Ian James right here.
Ooh, and James Safronis looking to the inside, going into the carousel for an instant on Jade Buford behind here. Recognized two abreast through there, not generally a great idea either, and just settled back in behind. Now the run to the kink.
Well, for James Safronis, any day you can make up points on Lawson Aschenbach is a good one, and try and take advantage of it. He'll love another podium run here today, or overall GTS championship leader.
Yeah, last time by, he was 2 spots clear of Lawson. But a lot of distance here right now that he's got in hand. And yeah, he's got some decisions to make, doesn't he? how much risk does he throw at picking up one spot maybe, and risk throwing away a lot of points relative to Lawson. So James is pretty savvy, been at this a while, 25 years as a matter of fact.
Let's not forget Buford's very much in the championship hunt as well, so he'd like to take points away from him, yet not jeopardize a strong finish.
Yeah, Buford in the sprint championships, third right now, so he wants to maximize anything he can possibly get here, and here's that run up the hill.
Surprised that James is not sort of like staying in line here. I'm not sure if he's got some overheating issues potentially with his Audi, because he always seems to be out of the slipstream there down these straightaways. Gottsacker really good through turn one. That's where that Sin really excels, in those high downforce corners.
He needs to just get a tremendous run here out of 3.
Well, it's good to see the car in the mix over the overall lap, Greg. Do you know what I mean? Typically, we've seen it this year just struggling halfway down the straightaways, and it's tough to go racing like that.
Meanwhile, we drop back to this battle.
Aschenbach's in trouble.
He is. Glennon had already got him. And now Hedlund up alongside. And he's getting a little help. Courtney slipped back just a little bit, didn't he? And now he's trying to help him along here.
Yeah, I just don't think that Lawson's got a healthy car, either setup-wise or something else is amiss, because we're just not seeing any sort of lap time. I mean, he rolled out of the trailer here and was running 2:19s, and his fastest lap here is a 2:21 in this race.
You wonder just how wounded that Pharaoh is.
Yeah, that's a good point. Maybe still some leftover stuff from that crash that they just haven't able to sort. By the way, you're talking about Preston Calvert having a great run. Right behind him now is George Kurtz in the CrowdStrike Audi that runs through the GMG camp. He's looking to the outside going down into turn 8 as we come back to the GT lead. And Michael Christensen continues to do exactly what he needs to do. And everybody, it just seems to have settled into a rhythm behind them right now. Nobody's really attacking anybody.
Right, but Brent just laid down his fastest lap of the race, Greg, at 2:07.8, and that was 7/10 quicker than Michael Christensen. So this could be game on here about that long green flag run. I know we had the intermission there with the caution, but nonetheless, maybe Brent's tires are in a bit better shape for the finish.
Look at this. Fronis has found a way around Jade Buford. That's third, and that puts him even more points and positions, thus points, I should say, clear of Lawson Aschenbach, and that's not what Buford wanted to see, because he's now going to lose some more points. Oh, and Aschenbach is off. He's got something broken.
The left rear broke again.
Sure did.
We talked about, you didn't know how wounded that car is. It's the same issue they had in turn 1 during practice just before qualifying. They had again an issue in that race yesterday afternoon, and it's snake bitten again.
I spoke to Timmy Caffeine right before the offer, and he said they changed, put brand new pieces on Lawson's car, so they felt they were going to be fine. But I wonder if Lawson was just feeling something throughout the course of this race, Greg, and just compromising his pace a little bit. You know, he didn't want it to fail. He talked about that practice incident. He said if that had happened in the King, that would have been a huge one. Fortunately, like, he's dodged another bullet with that failure.
And him possibly being a little cautious and having that, kept it alive as long as he did. He's past that crucial 50% threshold.
This Gottsacker tucked right under the tail of that Panos, but doesn't look to the inside. Surprised there that A, Ian didn't protect, and B, that Gottsacker didn't look to the inside and trying to make a move.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that Panos is really strong in the brake zone, or Ian's doing a great job with it.
Just getting back real quick to that 50% threshold, you have to complete 50% of the laps to get any points.
Well, the problem is, like yesterday, he did that, but there's so many cars in the GTS class, you're suddenly out of the points-paying positions. It's going to be a big weekend for James Safronis in the championship.
That it is, and I don't think Harry Gottsacker's done yet. I think the Panos of James got in front of him, but as you said, Harry now can just hound and hustle and look and see if he can get that Panos to... I don't think you're going to see Ian James make many mistakes. He's not prone to that, but you can just see him lose a little pace.
Yeah, this is all about experience right now. He's got Ian James in front of him. He's got a man who's celebrating 25 years of competition in Pirelli World Challenge right behind him. Then another young gun.
A Ninja Warrior, no less.
A Ninja Warrior, yeah. No pressure.
No pressure at all.
Safronis putting a little pressure on Gottsacker there on the exit of 12. Just a little bit, but Gottsacker now putting pressure on James. This is a good battle up front.
Yeah, I think that Sin's a little bit stronger in the late going here, Eric.
Yeah. Up front, Christensen hanging on to that margin. It's down to 1.8 seconds. But
Parent's car is getting quicker, Greg.
Sure
Again,
is.
a personal best for Alvaro Parent, even though the gap is still 1.8 seconds. A lot of work to do with just under 6 minutes to go.
yeah, Christensen responded. His lap was only a tenth slower than Parent that time.
Going back to this GTS battle, Sofronis, if he would have had another lap or two, could have very easily gotten him.
Well,
So,
and Ian James said that yesterday. He said, yeah, a couple more laps. I don't think I would have been able to hold him off. So, James really wide there, Cal. I think the P0s, the remarkable Pirellis on that Panos, are starting to feel the heat, quite literally.
Curious to see what Gottsacker does this time, because he's in a similar position. He's getting the draft effect from Ian James Panos right in front of him. And Ian just kept it right on the normal racing line. He didn't protect that inside line here as they take the run down towards turn 5. I think Harry's got to go for it here sooner or later. Time is running out.
boy, a little bit of brake waggle there. A little bit of contact maybe out of 5.
Is Harry savvy enough to be setting up Ian and not making that move, thinking that Ian, will think, okay, I've got him covered there, and then
Fill in his mirror, right?
and then the next lap just nail it down the inside.
I think Ian's very confident. I think he feels his car's maybe a little bit stronger into that brake zone, but nonetheless, if Harry can make the move early and just get alongside him, then woe it down and box him out, that's going to be the key.
And the problem for Harry is if he attempts something and gets it wrong, James Sofronis is going to be through in a big hurry as well. They've gapped Buford now a little bit. Going back to this battle, it's Ori Fidani in the number 13 Pfaff Motorsports Porsche. And that's the number 11
Kyle
Gaples.
Marcelli coaching him throughout the course of learning these new circuits. He really only knows one circuit, that's CTMP, so every weekend is an adventure for Roy Fidani.
There's the 11 of Gaples, then the 72 now of Shane Lewis in the 74 Ranch Camaro. Right behind him, Adam Merzon having a solid run in the Case-It Racing Flying Lizard Audi, the light blue and dark blue machine.
Sometimes if we just had a race for these guys' coaches on a weekend, it would be pretty good. You can have guys like Marcelli, Colin Brown, Ryan Eversley on the sidelines. It's like, okay, when the checkered flag comes out, we're going to do a 5-lap sprint with all of the coaches.
Yeah, well, and I'll tell you what,
entertaining.
in a way we do that. It's just called Sprint X. It's the second half of the first Sprint X race, and the first half of the second one is usually is the pros, and those tend to be the coaches. So this is going to be interesting here, because this is, I think, white flag next time by. What does Gottsacker do if he gets that run down into 5 this time?
Yeah,
He
that
has
mirror is
made
full
zero
of that
intent yet, so he is obviously saving something. You would think that he's got something up his sleeve here to try in these late going.
When Sofronis laying back, trying to get a little bit more of a run and try and get up and join this. Here comes Christensen. There you can see the margin. Parent has eaten into it just a little, Cal.
Look at their laps. Identical to the 1,000.
last time.
207.774.
Is that Morad?
That's
with a
Morad.
Oh, yeah.
big
Smoke.
problem.
Smoke.
Big problem coming out of that 2 car.
Yeah, he caught it. I mean, that's a good thing, too, because this is such a long lap. We're into the last couple anyway. But, boy, that's where you want to have the problem, where you can
Broken
just duck into the
suspension.
pits. Yep.
If you abuse the curbs here, I'm not saying that's the reason for Daniel Morad's issue right now, but we've certainly seen it with Lawson Oshibak this weekend. I mean, you're heavily loading these cars, and then if you do go across that rough piece of exit road on several of these corners, that can have consequences.
Well, we did see him in that battle with Vilander. Remember at the exit of Canada Corner, he got way out, was bouncing rather massively on those curbs, so that could well have happened as we watch him heading down into the CRP Racing pits. Here we go. Yep. Gottsacker did not get through. We don't know if he attempted it, but he did not get through. What does he do now into Canada Corner? And Sofronis is right there as well. Here comes
Sofronis
James.
dives
Gotta
out
run.
of the slipstream, wheels in the dirt there. Unbelievable stuff.
Well, that'll be raising some ire, I think, as well. And James, a little bit of dirt in those tires, just got him floating wide. And that's a heart in the throat moment at any rate. You're so fast back there, but again, just thinking big picture points.
Ian James has got to be thinking, yes, James Sofronis just put the pressure on Gottsacker. Maybe I can bring home another victory.
Oh, and look at this traffic here on this last couple of laps.
And this is the area of the racetrack. Talking to Alvaro Parent, he said, I'm really concerned about catching this GTS traffic through this section of the racetrack. Oh, Algahanian really wide there. Wild ride for our Lime Rock winner.
Boy, and Christensen able to just slice
That's
by.
really hurt Brent. Brent has really got stymied in traffic there. That has killed his potential.
Yeah, he got parked behind Pesic and also had Algahanian coming on. And in fact, it's allowed Mancinelli into it. Hargrove involved.
Yeah, Algahanian just did not see Hargrove there, nearly took him out.
And Vielander got a great run in the R. Ferry Ferrari coming through 14 as a result. Look at this traffic Christensen's dealing with. Coming up on the back of Gaples.
Well, he's okay. He's got a big buffer there. Tony doesn't give him a lot of room.
Gave him some.
This is something that you have to adjust to. They're not used to having these much faster GT3 cars coming through at those sort of speeds. About a 12-second overall lap time differential between the two classes.
When you look at Christensen's experience in the last couple of weeks, running at Le Mans, winning at Le Mans, he's been used to working traffic now.
Yeah,
a lot of
typically he's the slower car. He's been used to having LMP2s and hybrid prototype cars flying by him.
But still working with traffic.
For sure.
Used to having other cars around you that are different speeds. So that's certainly playing into this one. It's Brent just struggling to get through that back market.
Freelander's got a good run through traffic. Look at him ducking and diving there, trying to get up on Hargrove's tail here on this final lap of the race.
Oh boy, into turn 7, and that's one of those corners. Tony doing a really nice job there, being predictable, which is what those drivers wanted. Vielander was able to react to it. Lost a little bit of touch to Hargrove, but still in all, working traffic well. We are on the final lap. Here is the battle at the front, and this time it is Safronis in GTS around the outside of Harry Gottsacker.
And they're going to have another full lap to go because of where our overall leader is. So Ian James is going to have to defend here, similar to what he did yesterday with Safronis now on his tail. Great racing there, action into Canada.
So up the hill we go. It's this close. What can Harry Gottsacker do to try and get back around Safronis? And does Safronis now have enough pace to get up?
Look at Mancinelli's got a run on Alvaro Perent. Perent is slowed.
Wonder, did Perent get hung up somewhere?
There's Christensen.
No.
This is for second.
It is. Boy, that was
maybe one of those Ranch 74 Camaros hold him up.
And Christensen climbing the hill right now. The Allegra Motorsports InSync Healthcare Systems Porsche in the hands of the most recent Le Mans winner in GTE Pro comes to the top of the hill. Porsche wins at Road America, and what a run it was. Bentley comes home second. Third will go to Mancinelli. Hargrove just hanging on over Vielander by 0.4 of a second. An incredible run at the end there. Here at the line, it's a drag race of the GTA. Who does it go to? It's Parker Chase. Chase getting the win in GTA. Back to our GTS battle.
Wow, Safronis there really deep on the brakes. It looks like Ian James got a little buffer right now as Gottsack putting the pressure on for the runner-up position.
Watch it here. This is what James wanted to see. Those two guys battling behind him, giving himself just a little bit of room. But there's a lot of lap left to go, Cal.
Ian James going for his 4th consecutive victory for he and that Pano squad led by Tom Milner. But James Safronis, he is really good in that brake zone for Canada. Can he get close enough through this high-speed, high-downforce section? James Clay off for a ride here.
Oh, he got it slowed. All right, he got it stopped. What's going on down in that GTS battle? Here it is. And Safronis so good through the carousel.
He's close enough. If he can get a good run, he's going to have a look.
Watch for it. Where's James going to put that car? Drifting just a little bit.
Takes away the inside lane here. Safronis trying to do the undercut here. Key is Ian James has to slow him down enough. They're side by side here as they make the run up to 13.
James got a great run up through Billy Mitchell Bend here. Don't know if Safronis is going to be able to get there at the straightaway.
Beautiful racecraft there by Ian James.
Absolutely. On to the front straight. It's a drag race up the hill, and that drag race will usually go to the Panos as he powers up the hill. 4 for 4 at Road America for Ian James and Panos Motorsports in the Avezzano GT. What a remarkable... Ian James loving this place more every time he starts the engine here at Road America. But Safronis, again, huge gains in the points, Cal.
It really is, and I think thank goodness for James Sofronis that Ian James and that squad had a tough time to start their year, because they have certainly found a sweet spot just as they did last year and going on a tear right now.
Absolutely fantastic. And with all of the action going on in the GTS category, Mark Clennon comes through and gets his second straight win on the weekend in that Premier Copier Von Sydow moving and storage. What a story here for Mark Clennon. Courtney second again, the bridesmaid here at Road America. Great race, no question. And I'll tell you what, for Mr. Headland, that was a superb race today.
Yeah, he's had pace all weekend.
He sure
I think that's
has.
why he's been frustrated. He got that penalty for track limits in qualifying, so he started at the back. Then he got involved in some action yesterday. He knew he had a strong car, and he put it up there at the front today. That's pretty cool. And
Mike came from a ways back. He had started 31st and was back in the order a little bit, so that was a tremendous drive that he put on here. And Harry Gottsacker, I mean, he drove a tremendous race here, Cal. Didn't quite get it done.
All part of the learning curve, though. He'll have learned a lot here today running against those two guys in front of him.
Absolutely. So a good day for him as well. So Christensen, Parent, Mancinelli, your overall in GT podium. James winning in GTS over Sofronis and Gottsacker. In GTA, Parker Chase getting done what he couldn't quite get done yesterday, nipping Martin Fuentes. I mean, the margin at the line between Parker Chase and Martin Fuentes, 8 1/1000ths of a second as they came to the stripe. That was just incredible. And Yuki Hirata, a great comeback drive, had that moment earlier, remember, and comes back and gets third in the GTA category. And in GTSA, again, Clennon in the McLaren, Courtney in the Maserati, Headland in the Audi, Stavely in the Ginetta. Just a superb run. Calvert in the Panos. And a great run. But, boy, I'll tell you, this is, you talked about it. What a month for Michael Christensen.
Yeah, winning the Sprint X round at Lime Rock on the Memorial Day weekend, winning at Le Mans, winning again here today. And with that win at Le Mans, he's got the lead in the World Endurance Championship with his teammate there. So it's going to be a big year for Michael Christensen, the other famous Danish Christensen, that is.
Exactly. Yeah, Le Mans, yeah, exactly.
I used to tease him. I say, do you ever call up a restaurant and say, Christensen, race driver, I need a table? Leverage Tom's
really
clout a little bit.
Yeah, Danish race driver. Curious. Especially, in Le Mans in particular, give that a go. That'll put you right to the front of the queue. And he almost drove right by Victory Circle.
In fact, it looked like he did.
Yep. And they caught it right away and got him in. And just absolutely fantastic. And I think he's realized, like we said, it was an adjustment for him. He said just the immediate risk you take in this category, well, he figured out how to do it today and then did it on that restart again to perfection, Cal.
He really did. And there's a lot of pressure. He couldn't afford to have any bobbles because Parent's car looked like it came alive in the late going there. But he certainly dominated this one. Just got really aggressive at the start, made some nice clean moves, but got to the front and was not going to be the victory was not going to be taken away from him.
You know, Christensen came in here fourth in the Sprint X points, so sitting in the third spot in that championship was Daniel Murad, and I mean that's a pretty big swing here back to with Murad having his issues. So this is a big day for this gentleman in points too.
Yeah, there's a long way to go in this championship,
Yes,
Greg, and these guys have enough experience. They never give up.
What a month and a half it's been for him.
Oh, yeah, incredible.
Absolutely. Just wonderful to see.
Mad Mike, we used to call him when he first burst into our scene here in the U.S.
And see Ryan Marine down there. He's going to be doing an interview for the CBS Sports Network show, and then we'll have an interview, hopefully, for you. But here we go, the unofficial results. Christensen, Parent, Mancinelli, Porsche, Bentley, Ferrari. Then another Porsche in the hands of Scott Hargrove. Vielander in the Ferrari round out your top five. Baptista in sixth. Then Chase, Fuentes, and Hirata, the podium in the GTA category. And
so Chase got Fuentes. I thought it was the other way around.
No, he got it right at the end, literally. I think that was that scrum of traffic that we'd seen the guys up front working through, and he just was able to get through a little cleaner.
Well, I know where the party is tonight then.
Absolutely, big time. And James, there you see 13th overall, winning in GTS over Sofronis and Gottsacker, Buford in fourth, and Mark Clennon once again coming through after slipping back a little bit, fought his way right back up, wins his second straight day, his fourth career win, third on the season for Clennon. and just a superb run. Then Courtney, and then Headland will complete the podium. So absolutely wonderful there. I want to make a real quick point here for Ian James. You know, it's the Panos Racing, the Avezzano GT, but they carry a really important sticker on that car. It says Hometown Heroes, and it is recognizing and honoring the first responders in every community, the police, the fire department, the medical EV crews and the like, and that's an important one for them, so well done for them. But there's a look at our overall winner here in the second of the doubleheaders at the Pirelli World Challenge Grand Prix of Road America. Michael Christensen and the InKink Healthcare Solutions and Allegra Porsche, once again, all part of the Kohler Grand Prix at America's National Park of Speed, Road America. Couple of weeks break, Cal, and a return for Pirelli World Challenge after a very long absence to Delta Park in Portland International Raceway. Looking forward to that one.
It'll be fun to get back there, certainly, and we return to Sprint Next competition as well. So much to play for in all of these championships, but I tell you what, Greg, it's a privilege to be back here at Road America this weekend.
Well, this place is special, and it is always an honor to come back. Do want to remind everybody, if you want to see the broadcast of this race, the GT Focus race, Sunday, July 1st, 3 p.m. Eastern, that would be 2 p.m. Central, and the GTS Focus race, Wednesday, July 11th, that'll be at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central Time. Want to say a big thanks, obviously, Eric Mueller helping us here on our call this weekend. Calvin, is always a pleasure. I'm Greg Creamer. We will be back with you folks in a few weeks' time from Portland, Oregon. We can't wait for that one to unfold, but we sure hate to believing Road America. Thanks, everybody.